A farmer named Billy lived alone in the countryside with his pet dog, which he loved and doted on. After many long years of companionship, his dog finally died, so Billy went to the parish priest. "Father, my dear old dog is dead. Would you be kind enough to provide a mass for him?" The father replied, "I am so very sorry to hear about your dog's death, but unfortunately, we cannot perform services for an animal in the church. However, there's a new denomination down the road. No telling what they believe, but maybe they'll do something for the animal." Billy said, "I'll go right now. Do you think $500 is enough to donate for the service?" The father replies, $500? Why didn't you tell me the dog was Catholic? A wild rabbit is captured and taken to a medical laboratory to be used for experiments. There, he befriends a rabbit who was born and raised in the lab. One day, the wild rabbit notices that the researchers hadn't latched his cage properly and decides to make a break for it. He tells the lab rabbit how great it is on the outside and convinces him to come along. First, the wild rabbit takes the lab rabbit to a field of lettuce where they munch to their heart's content. The wild rabbit then says,
"Let me take you to an even better field."
And they head off to a field full of carrots. They munch contentedly for hours. Finally, the wild rabbit says,
"Now let me take you to the best field of all."
He takes the lab rabbit to a field full of female rabbits. The rabbits enter the field and do what rabbits do. At dawn, the rabbits are exhausted and content. Suddenly, the lab rabbit announces,
"Well, I'm headed back to the lab."
Stunned, the wild rabbit asks,
"Why? I showed you a field of lettuce, a field of carrots, and a field full of female rabbits."
The lab rabbit says,
"Yeah, that was really great, but now I'm dying for a cigarette."
John approaches his old buddy Mark at the local casino.
"Mark,"
says John,
"I'm glad I found you today. I desperately need to borrow $10,000, and I need it today."
"What do you need $10,000 for, and what is the hurry?" asks Mark.
"My mother desperately needs an operation, and the doctor says it's going to cost 10 grand. I hate to ask a friend for a loan of this size, but frankly, you're my last hope. If Mom doesn't get the surgery quickly, she may not survive,"
pleads John. "Wait a minute," says Mark. "I just remembered that the big poker tournament is coming up in a couple of days, and the entry fee is exactly $10,000. Are you sure you don't intend to use the 10 grand to enter the poker tournament?"
"No way,"
says John.
"I've had that money saved and set aside for months now."
A monkey goes into a bar and orders a beer. This totally amazes the bartender, but he thinks, "What the heck, I guess I can give the monkey a beer." So he draws a beer from the tap and walks over to hand it to the monkey. To his surprise, the monkey is holding out a $20 bill. The bartender is at a loss for words. He can't believe that a monkey walked into his bar, ordered a beer, and then actually had a $20 bill to pay for it. So, in amazement, the bartender takes the 20 and walks to the cash register to make the change. While he's standing in front of the cash register, he stops for a second and thinks to himself, I think I'll try something here and see if the monkey notices." The bartender walks back over to the monkey and hands him a $1 change. The monkey doesn't say a word, he just sits there sipping the beer. After a few minutes, the bartender just can't take it anymore. "You know," he says to the monkey, "we don't get too many monkeys in here." The monkey looks up at the bartender and says, "I'm not surprised. $19 for a beer?" There's a traveling salesman who loves to play poker. Every town he visits, he manages to find a game. One night, he's led to the back of a saloon, and seated among the locals is a German shepherd. The guy is surprised to see a dog at a poker table, but the dog appears to be very well behaved, so the salesman sits down to play. After an hour or so, the salesman and the dog are in a showdown. The salesman raises, the dog raises back, the salesman raises again, and the dog calls. The salesman shows his hand, 3 queens. The dog turns over his hand, a flush. The salesman is so impressed, he isn't even mad that he lost the hand. You know, he says to one of the locals, not only can that dog play, but he's really pretty good. Yeah, says the local. He plays okay, but we usually beat him. Is that right? Asks the salesman. Yeah, says the local. Whenever he has a good hand, he wags his tail. A man and a woman meet at a bar one day and are getting along really well. So, they decide to go back to the woman's house. Suddenly, the woman hears something and screams, "Quick, my husband just got home! Go hide in the bathroom!" So, the man runs into the bathroom. As her husband enters the bedroom, he asks, "Why are you naked?" "Well," the wife replies, "I heard you pull up outside, so I thought we could have a little fun before dinner." "Great," says the husband. "I'll go get ready." Before his wife can stop him, he enters the bathroom and sees a naked man standing there clapping his hands randomly in the space around him. "Who the heck are you?" asks the husband. "Oh, I'm from the exterminator company. I'm here to get rid of the moths you've been having problems with." The husband replies, "That's fine, but why are you naked?" The man then looks down at himself and says, "Those little bastards!" As a man is driving, he loses his grip on his coffee and swerves as he tries to steady it. Suddenly, he hears a police siren, and as he looks into his rearview mirror, he sees a police car behind him with its lights on. So he pulls over and rolls down his window. The police officer approaches his car, then orders, "License and registration, sir." As the man hands over his license, he explains, "Sir, I lost my grip on my coffee and—" Before the man can finish, the officer interrupts, "Have you been drinking, sir?" The man replies, "As I was trying to explain, sir." The officer interrupts again. "How about a quick test then? Imagine you're driving down a dark road and see 2 headlights in the distance. What is it?" The man replies, "A car?" The officer barks, "Of course, but what kind? A Chevy, Dodge, or a Ford?" The man replies, "How am I supposed to know?" The officer says, "Just as I suspected, you've been drinking." The man protests, "But sir, I haven't been drinking." "Okay," says the officer. "Then tell me, on the same dark road, 1 light shows up in the distance. What is it?" The man says, "A motorcycle?" "Of course it's a motorcycle," says the officer. "But is it a Honda, a Harley, or a Kawasaki?" The man replies, "I have no idea." The officer says, "Just as I suspected, you've been drinking." In response, the man says, "Okay, then let me ask you a question. You're driving down a highway around midnight and you see a woman on the roadside wearing a miniskirt, fishnets, and high heels. What would you call her?" The officer replies, "A hooker, of course." The man then says, "Yes, of course, but is it your wife, your daughter, or your mother?" A man decides to seek help from a psychiatrist due to his drinking habits. As he settles down on the cozy couch in the psychiatrist's office, the doctor kindly asks, "Can you please share with me the reason behind your drinking?" Taking a deep breath, the man replies, "Absolutely, let me explain. It all started when I made the decision to get married, and perhaps that wasn't the best choice. You see, I fell in love with a widow who had a grown daughter. That daughter soon became my stepdaughter." Continuing the story, he adds, "Then, to make things more interesting, my own dad came to visit us. Surprisingly, he fell head over heels for my stepdaughter, and they ended up getting married, making my stepdaughter my stepmother. Now, to make matters even more complicated, my wife and I had a son. Naturally, he became the brother of my stepmother, since she's the daughter of my dad's new wife. So, my stepdaughter, who is now my stepmother, became my son's aunt. Are you still following?" The psychiatrist nods, intrigued by the intricate family dynamics. The man continues, "But wait, there's more. Since my new son is the brother of my stepmother, he's also my uncle. Adding to the complexity, my wife is now both my stepmother and my step-grandmother, thanks to her being the mother of my stepmother. And of course, let's not forget that my stepmother herself is also my stepdaughter." The psychiatrist's eyes widened, understanding the mind-boggling situation. Then finally interrupts him. "I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to stop you right there." "Why?" asks the man. The doctor replies, "Because I need a drink."